You need to stop getting inspired by other electronic music. What's going on, everybody? My name is TAETRO, your electronic music mentor, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Mentor Mondays. If you don't know, Mentor Mondays is a series on this channel where we talk about some of the more philosophical side of things that have to do with electronic music or music production. We get away from some of the more technical stuff and talk more about what it means to be an artist. Now, if you haven't yet, click that subscribe button down below for more electronic music performances, tutorials, and content that's going to help you become a better electronic musician or music producer. But for now, let's get into another episode of Mentor Mondays. All right, on today's episode of Mentor Monday, I want to talk all about where we get inspiration. And not only that, but if we draw inspiration from the same art form that we create, we might actually stagnate our progress or an entire genre's progress. Now, obviously, I love electronic music, I make electronic music, and I love listening to electronic music. It's by no means my favorite music genre, and I take most of what goes into my music from other places. Sure, I love pop music and I come from a more rock music background, and all those things get infused into my personal style. But it's the inspiration I take from other art forms that makes me a unique artist. When we take too much inspiration from music, especially music that is the same genre that we're creating, we sort of create like this vacuum or this echo chamber where we're doing a lot of the same things, and it's pretty noticeable. Now, if you want to make EDM and I listen to your music and all I hear are stabs and giant chord progressions and a serum synth and a 4 to the floor, I'm probably not going to be that interested. What are you bringing to your music from somewhere else that's going to make me say, hey, this is different? This is mostly a problem when we take things from the same genre and put them back into the same genre. If you want to take things from a bunch of different music genres and infuse them into something new, that's where things start to become special. This is why so many people love sampling, not only creating music with samples, but listening to music with samples, because it ends up infusing different things, like especially from jazz. You hear a lot of jazz samples in lo-fi hip hop. You take a sample, you create something totally different with it. This is an example of sort of using another genre of music and infusing it into a different genre to make something new and exciting. This is where my love for pop music really comes in handy, because a lot of electronic music is long and drawn out, whereas pop music is very short and concise. So what I usually do is take the pop song style and song form and apply it to my electronic music. This makes it so my songs are a little bit easier to listen to, especially if you're new to electronic music. You're a little more familiar with the structure, so you're probably a little more likely to actually like the music. But forget about music in general. Stop taking inspiration from music if you have to. I love movies. I might love movies more than music. Don't tell anyone. One of my favorite directors' names is David Fincher, and you might know him as the director of Fight Club or Gone Girl, The Social Network. And what I love about David Fincher's films is that they're dark. I just really love the tone of those films. And one thing I love to do is watch David Fincher films with the commentary track on, because you can learn so much from another creative person even though they're outside the medium of art that you create. So I've picked up countless creative tips, workflow tips from listening to film director commentaries, and I was able to apply some of those tips to being an electronic musician. So as I started to realize that David Fincher was one of my favorite directors, I realized it was because of the darker, more serious tone of his films, so I started watching other films like that. And I think this sort of comes across with a lot of my music. I like to apply a lot of emotion with my music, and it's not always the most uplifting sounding music, because I'm almost sort of reflecting the art that I love in the art that I make. For example, this session with the key step, you can actually see, if you look close enough in the background, my TV is playing Blade Runner 2049, which is like this super dark cyberpunk sequel to the original Blade Runner. Very dark movie, deals with like existentialism and what it means to be human, what it means to be a man. And I think the sort of tone of that, though I'm not saying my pieces is anyway comparable to a big film like that. I think the tone is sort of comparable, and hopefully that came through in the piece. This is another reason why I love field recording, because you're starting with a source that is not music at all, it's just sound. And that sound can take you in a different direction. That sound is what is influencing you in that moment. You're not being influenced by a melody or a chord progression. You're literally just hearing the timbre of a sound that's out in the wild, and that's influencing where the piece of music goes. So it's almost always going to take you to an original place that you haven't been before. So maybe with this advice, you'll be able to start looking at the world around you a little bit differently. Stop thinking that you need to have only musical references for your music, and start thinking about how other art forms that inspire you can directly inspire the sound of your music. And even if other non-musical artists don't inspire your actual art, maybe they'll inspire the way you work on your art or the way you create your art. You never know what you can take from another creative person, no matter what art form they create. Whether you're a writer who takes inspiration from visual art, or you're a filmmaker who takes inspiration from music, what other art forms inspire your art form? Let me know in a comment down below. If you haven't, click that subscribe button down below for more live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content that's made to make you a better music producer or electronic musician. This has been TAETRO, your electronic music mentor. Have a good one.